Hey, what is up, sports fans? And welcome back to another episode of Sports, of course, with your fantastic hosts, Jonah and RPF. RPF, my friend, how are you on this fine afternoon?
I am well, actually. I'm actually excited about being in the middle of August. We're heading to our monthly lake house. We're going to have a nice,
fantastic,
different. So, future episodes, you might see a different background and stuff. But yeah, I'm excited.
Fantastic. I unfortunately always every time we hit like August 1st, I just kind of start crying. I'm like, oh, summer's over.
Well, for me, as a magazine editor, just quick aside, any editor who knows anything knows that generally speaking, mid-October is our summer vacation because everyone it's the last 2 weeks of August when the entire world, certainly in Manhattan, is gone to the Hamptons or Far Island or somewhere. We're on deadline for the fall issues that are really thick, and so we have no vacations ever when everyone else is. So we tend to go. We, meaning editors or people in magazine business, tend to go away in October. So
I see. All right. Well, hey, without further ado, let's jump in the episode. This is Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF. You can find us anywhere you listen to your podcast, over at Apple, Spotify, Podbean, and you can also find us socially on Instagram. Are we Xing? RPF? Are we Xing?
So far, I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'm still analyzing.
All right. The jury's out, but we are Xing. You can find us there as well, and you can of course find us on our dedicated YouTube channel. Just head to any of those platforms, type in Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF. We are the only Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF that you can possibly find, to the best of my knowledge, and we should pop right up.
Wouldn't it be awesome if another Jonah and RPF became like podcasters with the same?
Are we getting into like different universe theories here?
Like Seinfeld, the upside down universe.
But anyway, let's jump into it. RPF, I have an idea of where you might want to start, but I know where I want to start. So perhaps I'm gonna throw this out there and see if it's the same thing.
Sure.
I'm disappointed.
Yes. Very much. In fact, my shirt is kind of like a subtle, not so subtle, homage to the topic. The topic, of course, is that for the first time in a dozen years, the U.S. women's national team will not be the world champions in the World Cup, and they lost to Sweden on this past week. And it was. I will tell you one thing about it. I watched the entire match. I got up early, and like we talked about in last week's episode, Sweden was the right team to challenge us, to push us, because we've been squeaking by and playing draws and not playing ourselves.
Right.
This match was how I don't mind going out. From opening whistle to the last PK, the team played their heart out. And they played organized, they played connected, they had chemistry. 2 balls hit the post, and things like that happen in sports, and and Sweden had, I think, one shot on goal the entire match, and they end up winning in PKs by 1, and I'll say this: it was a class act all the way around. They were true representatives of this country, and I'll say this: and it's not a political podcast, but to have the former president of this country go on Twitter or non-Twitter on his whatever makeshift platform is, and just literally say the things he did. If you don't know what he said, I'm not going to repeat it here, but it was just, what's the word? Disgusting. And got personal and got just gross as someone who's like, it's so un-American to kick a team when they're down, to do something so horrible. And for her response, which is Megan's response personally, it was brilliant and funny, as you would expect. The point is that I don't usually go there, but I'm just, as an American and as someone who loves sports, this was in this disappointment, it was beautiful to see how the effort was and how proud I am of them, and how it's not expected to be the world champion every single match and every single tournament. So, I think this is a great building block for the next wave, for the Olympics and for the next World Cup. I think it's okay. Yeah.
I'm going to, they played their hearts out for sure. I'm going to push it a little bit harder, with the disappointment angle. Listen, you've become you've become. Oh, I was a Patriots fan, right? So, or I still am technically.
I'm thinking that's a Freudian slip. Wow.
I just meant I meant
Yeah.
through the Brady
Yeah.
through the Brady era, right? And
Yeah.
it became when you become that good, it becomes anything less than certain expectations is a disappointment.
A current Chiefs fan, right now.
Sure, right, and I don't mean you have to win. You don't have to win the Super Bowl every year, okay? But again, going back to the Brady era, we didn't have to win it every year. But geez, like if we weren't in it, or at least in the AFC Championship game, it was like, oh well, this year was a bust. And I understand it's a very spoiled perspective. I understand that, but my point is when you are that good and you get to that point, you kind of have to live up to it. And my disappointment is not that they lost. It's not the way that they lost. It's how early they lost. Yeah. That's it. I go win this one and then get into the round of 8 and certainly the round of 4. If you make it to the final 4, I got zero.
It's funny. If they scored 1 goal in the last game, they would have been the top seed out of that group. They would have played I think it was like Ecuador or Japan or something, like who doesn't play that well. We would have played Sweden eventually, maybe in the final.
Yeah.
But it would have been a different thing, like you said. But it's a
fickle sport and it's a fickle tournament. And to your point, one goal, you can kind of change the trajectory. But you also these girls also know that. These women know that. They know that one goal can alter the course of their destiny for this tournament. But no. I guess all in all, they played hard. It's just they unfortunately for their own selves have set their bar and their expectations just so high, which is fantastic.
But now they have something to play for. The whole team, the whole nation can get.
And here's the thing. They're young, right? So I'm really looking forward to 4 years from now. Right. There's that whole kind of core of I don't know their actual ages, but I want to say they're 20 to 24 right now.
Yeah.
Who are going to mature over the next 4 years and have this sting just lingering in the back of their minds for the next World Cup.
It's faster than you think. It's going to linger because it's the next summer. They're in Paris for the Olympics, so that's going to be a good early test.
Yeah, perfect. Yep. Yeah. We'll put a ball on that. We'll leave it there. Disappointed, proud of them, proud of their effort coming down the stretch, but a little disappointed that they didn't get to their usual spot. That's all.
I agree. Let's get to happy news.
Ooh, okay.
Leo fucking Messi. I don't even. You don't follow.
Wait. As GOAT as advertised?
As GOAT as advertised. Part 2. Okay. I'll start this way.
Okay.
He's played 4 games or 4 matches or whatever.
Okay.
For the Miami team. He's already 4th leading scorer of all time for the team. In 4 games.
That's fantastic.
I mean, I don't know if that's a testament to how weak the Miami team was.
Well, here's where I was gonna get, where my head immediately went was, do I love having him here in the States and playing? Absolutely. I think it's fantastic for the game. I think there's a big push recently, right? I think we talked about this episodes ago with Ted Lasso being a huge show, and then also Ryan Reynolds and with Rob McHenry, is that his name? They did a team. Now JJ Watt is funding a team. Now Tom Brady's in on a team.
Yeah,
I think there's a bigger, deeper, I don't want to say conspiracy, but a deeper foundation to integrate the U.S. into the soccer world, right? And so it's fantastic that Messi's here. I love it. Like I told you last week.
Yeah.
I'm looking up when they come to play in New York, so I'm going to go to a game so I can see the great Messi, right? But immediately when you tell me that he's been here for 4 games and he's already one of the leading scorers, I'm like, how awful is American soccer?
Well, I will tell you this. I think it's not. I think you're viewing it from the American perspective. I think this is the globalization true of the sport finally, like putting the Saudi Arabia big push and everything else, and even in the Far East and the emphasis of football, soccer in South Korea and in Japan and all these places. So I think it's becoming reluctantly in this country because we had to be kicking and screaming
Right.
literally into this realm. But
Yeah.
I think soccer and football is becoming or has become
Great soccer movie, by the way. Kicking and Screaming.
What's that?
Kicking and Screaming. Have you seen that with Will Ferrell and Mike Ditka?
No, I was thinking. Oh, I didn't know that's a real movie. I'm thinking that'd be funny with with Kevin Hart or something. That'd be really funny.
It's a real movie with Will Ferrell and Mike Ditka. Fantastic.
Okay,
anyway,
that's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Well, this is what we've had to go off of, right? For American soccer.
Well,
fans.
I don't know if that's entirely true, but that's okay. I mean, there is like basic cable you can actually watch stuff. But I will say this about Messi. Messi just last game during this tournament, and Miami's played. Who they played? I don't know, Cincinnati, Portland. It's one of these places, and the team within 3 minutes, Messi scores a goal again. Like just a great pass from the striker that we had that no one even knew he was there until Messi arrived, and perfect pass, a left foot in the corner, the goalie diving and can't reach it, and the announcers going crazy in every language, which is great. And then you have, a set piece that he scores on. I mean, it's crazy. And then we win in PKs. And Messi's PK was the one that what started the whole thing, and then the 18-year-old, which by the way, Miami has this new 18-year-old phenom that has scored, not only scored a goal but scored the game-winning PK, the last one, and he's 18, and he's like, he thinks playing with Messi is something you do as an 18-year-old. It's like it's not right. So he's like, oh, this is my teammate Messi. And meanwhile, Messi can be his grandfather at this point. Anyway, but it's just amazing. The team is now in the quarterfinals of this major tournament. They were literally the worst team in the MSL. They had the worst record. They had the worst everything.
Wow.
And don't tell me one player can change the world, right? And anyway, Messi brought, and then of course with Messi, they brought over a couple more players to help him out. And now it's a whole different game. It is so much fun to watch. I mean, if I'm encouraging you guys, if you guys ever get an Apple Plus subscriber thing for the MSL season pass, I'm sure it's called something like, Kick Me All Season or something. Anyway, it's basically
kicking and screaming.
It's a Sunday ticket for MSL on Apple Plus. Yep. And it's just Messi. I mean, honestly, if nothing else, go on X or Instagram and go follow the Inter Miami account, and they show from different angles and different announcers all the goals that they score, and it's just glorious.
Is their social media just going crazy because they finally have something to post?
They went from 100,000 followers to 18 million worldwide followers.
Right.
It's
they went from one post a week to 5 a day.
Here's a tip to increase your social media accounts. If you can't get Messi to be part of your social media account, just post all Messi all the time, and you will see everybody follow you in. But anyway, I am. I mean, as GOAT as advertised, 100%. It is
as
truly
GOAT as advertised. Love it.
Brought to you by RPF. But Messi's fun to watch. Let's get to the other football, shall we?
Okay, so from football to football? Is it?
Technically, it's football.
Apologies.
No, it's okay. The accent, unless you're British, which they always emphasize.
So Spanish, accent. I haven't taken Spanish since, I guess technically college, but I didn't really take it in college. I signed up for it.
I don't remember you ever mentioning a college course you've ever taken, so let alone Spanish. I mean, I remember you playing.
For all intents and purposes. For all intents and purposes, it's been since high school since I did any Spanish.
So football or football, depending on what emphasis we're talking about. Okay. But anyway, for the NFL, American football, and we had the Hall of Fame induction ceremony this past weekend. It was, and of course, my great Dolphin Zach Thomas, the Miami Dolphin linebacker, finally got into the Hall of Fame, which was just an outrage because his contemporary, like Brian Urlacher, was in years ago, and Brian Urlacher doesn't even have half the numbers that Zach did. But anyway, the point is that he's in, and it's great. And it was a teary speech, and it was fabulous to see. And fun fact, Zach Thomas' sister is married to Jason Taylor, the other Dolphin great in the Hall of Fame, who's all, and so it's just and they were best friends and roommates and stuff. So I mean, that's how. Talk about dating your sister. He married his sister. And
Something
anyway,
seems off here.
no, she's blonde, blue-eyed, gorgeous
I'm just kidding.
person. And anyway, so they were all it's all very, very friendly down in Canton,
Apparently.
Ohio. So anyway, Jimmy Johnson was the one that inducted him in because he's the one that recruited Zach Thomas. He was the 57th pick. 9 linebackers were picked before him. The whole type of kind of Rudy-esque story about him. He's undersized and he just worked really hard and heart of gold and the whole thing. So he's also an amazing father and kids. All the things. Anyway, all right. So the NFL starts this season. I think it's something we kind of glossed over a couple of seasons ago in the podcast was like the fact when the change happened, the NFL decided to go from 4 to 3 preseason games, which I think was necessary. I think I would argue that we can go down to 2, but I mean, honestly, actually, how much fun would it be to watch like 21 games of real games and the first 3 games are just a disaster because no one's catching the ball. It's like everyone's like, still DUIing or whatever.
So the only thing I'll say about that is I keep hearing the players themselves. Obviously, the players hate these preseason games because they're meaningless. But the
established players, but not the rookies,
right? But every time you hear, like, if you kind of listen between the lines, if you will, when a player's coming back from injury, they always talk about, well, it's different. You have to get into game shape, meaning like you have to go get hit, and you have to like. And so I'm curious if it's as much to the player's chagrin as it is. I wonder if it's just a necessary evil.
Well, funny you said that because I did talk to a Dolphin player years ago, and he said it wasn't so much the games, it was the meetings and the film you study and the homework that they give you and analyzing, that type of aspect. Because you kind of check out if you're in rehab or whatever, you're not looking at that. And that's the part that has to kick in again, like like having to study again, having to be on top. So that type of mentality for at least this player was the head game, not so much the physical game. Because the physical game, you either fast or you're not. You know your route or you don't. That type of thing, or the play calls or you don't. It's confronting the person in front of you, beating that person. That was the hard part for that.
Yeah,
coming back from injury.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the Dolphins playing the Falcons on Friday night. We're recording this on Tuesday. So that should be, the first game is always like, starters play.
I'm not even sure why we're talking about this.
Yeah, exactly. No, either. I'm just hungry for football. So I will say this, that we're less than a month away from the actual kickoff of the season in our team. So I think leading up to this, maybe in a couple of weeks, we'll do the NFL preview episode, which will be fun. And then we'll do our famous, in our mind, infamous maybe, predictions. I'll give you a hint.
I don't need
aquatic
one.
Aquatic mammals may be in play.
I'm not allowing it.
Aquatic mammals will be in play. Anyway, so that's the NFL for me. And a fun fact for me, anyway, as anyone who follows our podcast knows, the 2 favorite quarterbacks in our lexicon, favorite meaning not so much, are not only Aaron Rodgers, the Jets golden boy, which, by the way, all over X and Instagram, all the Dolphin fans were like saying, look at the Aaron Rodgers perfect
I can't do this
spiral.
X thing. I can't do this X thing. It's
terrible.
Okay, sorry.
Terrible. Well, X has to be called that because the evil overlord who precedes over it, what's the word? Who reigns over it is just perfect for that person.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry, yeah.
So,
perfect spiral.
On social media, they're showing this perfect spiral. You look at slow motion. Of course, it's like picked off by the defensive secondary in training camp. It's like perfect. Aaron goes just where he left off. Because I said, don't piss him off. He's a little crazy cabin rider. Anyway, so that's the one quarterback that we don't love so much. The other one is, wait for it, Teddy Bridgewater. And Teddy Bridgewater.
Whoa, don't bring me into this. Don't bring me. No, I got nothing against Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, I did as a Dolphin fan because he was just basically didn't seem to want to be there. He just kind of phoned it in. And he, by the way, when he was with the Vikings, he was a guy. He did well. He played well. And
sure. Yep.
Anyway, so that was the Teddy Bridgewater we were hoping for, and we did not receive. We'll get that. So now he's shipped off or signed with wait for it, as a backup to Jared Goff at the Lions, which I found astounding that because he's the opposite type of quarterback that Goff is.
Yeah,
so I thought,
a little different.
different, right? So anyway, so that's going to be interesting because he's first up. He's for the first game of the season is, as we talked about, are the Chiefs and the Lions. So that's going to be interesting to see. So that's my football kind of taste before we get into it later in the future episodes.
Yeah.
By the way, in future episodes, we're also going to have guest stars for football. We're going to have
like Tom Brady.
Tom
Brady joining the show.
Well, after he heard that he was been mentioned about, he's going to promote his 7th place soccer team he just purchased in England. So no, he's it's going to be people like Frank Seppi, who is like a world renowned fitness and expert, a muscle expert, a fitness guy, and he's like a huge Jets fan. So that's going to be interesting to talk about AFC East stuff. And then my brother, who is going to be also joining.
Love it.
He's going to be as chatty as any Cuban out of Miami is. And then we have my friend Angela Bedell. She wants to talk about women's sports and how that whole
do it. Yeah, I would love to.
Okay. So all these type of people will be different voices, and then we'll shut the microphone off when we're tired of them, and then we'll move on with the fun stuff that we do.
Right. And then we're going to get complaints because I'm pretty sure everyone wants to listen to them and not us.
Well, then go to their podcast. But let's go to baseball.
Okay, well, real quick before I jump off football, and this will take 2 minutes. So I took your advice and I watched, kind of in the background. I wasn't like super glued to it, but it was in the background. I watched the Netflix quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
how many episodes did you watch?
I watched the whole thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And
I'm an all or nothing. I'm an all or nothing guy. Okay, it's the
I mean that's like don't date casually, do you? Like first date, what pattern do we want on our bed sheets? What?
Okay. No, it was really great. It was, I found myself wanting to hear more about Mariota and Kirk Cousins
at the end, right?
Than I did about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes.
You know what it is? Mahomes is young. He's still young, by the way. We forget. So he has a less rounded experience in life. Kirk Cousins is a grizzled veteran that's been through the mill, and he's now having a moment.
Like I must say, and I hope this doesn't ruin anything. I don't think it will ruin anything for anyone. But there's like when you're watching the Mahomes section of it, there's this one part where
the part that he wins the Super Bowl.
No. The part where they're in his new house and there's this massive fish tank and he's just and it's and he's like, oh, and this is our fish tank. It was a gift from so and so, and they bought us these cool fish, and I'm like, you young little shit. I'm like, it just seems like like you said,
it looked his house looks like he incorporated a town near Kansas City and said, this is now Mahomesville. It literally looked like he bought a town.
Right.
He has a golf course.
It's like the game. It's like the game The Sims, you know what I'm talking about, where you can build your own city. So there's
very much like that. Yeah.
There's a billion different iterations of it, but one of them, Sims World, you can build your own world, Sims Town. But they're I feel like this was Sims House, and it was a little kid building a house, and it was
it looked like a Lego house in some ways, And meanwhile, so it's kind of, that's why I'm saying, for me, someone who's watched football so long time, I love the Kirk Cousins. I mean, to me, that family unit,
I think that was my favorite storyline. Just to see how.
But you see what I meant? With, he complains a lot. He's kind of like a little bitchy,
right? But he's funny about it, and he's
he's funny.
It's almost like his shtick, kind of. It's
he's self-aware about it.
So I think that was my favorite storyline. But and then the Mariota one was it's so intriguing to me. And what was really cool, and I won't spoil this, was to see how in the Mariota storyline, to see how his personal narrative and the media narrative just got. And you know what I mean? And how
and his
how much
wife is kind of strong partner.
Oh my gosh, totally. Yeah, awesome. But anyway, it was great.
By the way, and the sad part is that Tua was offered to do the next season to be one of the 3 quarterbacks, and he passed and he turned it down, which makes me really sad because I think that would have been such a great insight to see his ups and downs. And
but okay. So knowing that, if you go back to our last episode, or maybe the one before, I forget, but we talked about Tua and how he's changed. I see that RPF. I see that as a great sign for you and
as
Dolphins
growth.
fans.
Yeah,
I see that as him going, I want zero distractions. I want nothing. I don't need any of you. I don't need anything. It's just me, and I'm going forward, and I'm trying to accomplish this. And I don't need the attention.
That's how the team sees
anything.
it too. That's how the teammates see it too. And I think it's interesting. I think I predict though the next season, they're called Hard Knocks is going to come knocking on Miami's door, and the NFL doesn't give you a choice usually. So I just have a hunch.
Okay.
With Ramsey and Chubb and Tua and all these and Cheetah and all this. I mean, it's a lot of fun stuff to watch.
There's a lot of personalities in that locker room for sure.
And Fangio, the defensive genius, and Mike McDaniel's constant joke machine from the podium and stuff.
There's a lot in there. There's a lot of storylines in there for sure.
Yeah, and the storyline would be if we finally drove Aaron Rodgers into retirement, which would be interesting to watch. God, Jonah, you have to let go of that anger you have about Aaron Rodgers.
I know. I apologize. All right, moving on. Let's head on. Yes. We were about to head on to baseball, and I interrupted. Yeah. So let's head on to baseball. What do you got?
So I'll start with the most recent, and it's the Red Sox from last episode were the hottest team in baseball. They haven't won since, so they lost five. They lost 5 in a row.
You're welcome.
Exactly. in a very tight race, as we talked about, everyone's bunched up and all the stuff. It's you cannot do that, and especially we got swept by Toronto, which was the team directly in front of them for the wild card. So now we're back in the basement. The Yankees edged above us. So now, but last night we're playing the Royals, the lowly Royals, I call them. And no offense to your former team, but but we were about to lose again because we lost 2 of the 3 games in walk off. And it's just been really sad. We come back all the way back, and then we lose in the 9th inning. And so anyway, so last night we had this a walk-off grand slam to win, and I and of course the shift of momentum and attitude and joy, and compounded with I view this as truly, even though it's really early August, I find this to be a defining moment for the Red Sox season, because not only do we have that little inch of that big kind of injection of enthusiasm again and hope, we also have tomorrow, meaning tonight, I think, is Trevor Story, our star shortstop, free agent signing from last season, and he's back from injury tonight, and Chris Sale is back next week, our star pitcher. So those two, because the Red Sox have been so unexpectedly silent during the trade deadline. Everyone was expecting Ohtani or from the high some huge signing or something which is traditional Red Sox Yankees stuff that we go, and Dodgers, we go after the big gun, and the Red Sox were just non-existent. We just shipped off Kike Hernandez back to the Dodgers for some minor league talent, but otherwise there's no activity, and the whole fan base is and I think they're counting on the current team and Sale and Story to kind of fill in. And anyway, so we'll see what happens. But it's I find this to be the last and best chance for the Red Sox to right the ship and really, if not, then it's a wait till next year type of thing. But what's your take on baseball right now?
Well, 2 things. One, we'll stick with the Red Sox. I just want to make sure you are aware that guy did strike out before the Grand Slam.
Yeah, of course. That guy. Yeah, of course. That's the whole point.
Meaning
Elias.
He tried to check his swing, completely went around, and the umpire said no swing, which was ball 4, and then the next guy hit the grand slam.
Oh, the guy before him. Yeah. The guy before. Yeah. Well,
no.
He still would have. It wasn't 2 outs. He still would have scored, hit a home run, and still would have won the game. So it's just not a grand slam. But.
Okay.
God, are you from New England? What are you like? I'm gonna turn in your Red Sox card. You're like
I already turned it in. 2005.
You turned it in.
Yeah.
How funny. 2005. That was a good season for us. All right.
It was. Well, no, 2004 was a good
2004,
season.
2004, yeah.
I turned it in 05. Anyway, I want to talk baseball. Are you kidding me? How about Tim Anderson getting laid out cold on the dirt of the infield? Hello.
That was like a roundhouse. I was like, oh my God.
That was fantastic. And
explain to people that didn't see what we're talking about.
Okay, so
a fight.
a fight happened. So actually, this was actually really cool because I heard about it. Like I heard the grumblings. And I was like, oh, let me check this out. Let me look into it. And so Tim Anderson is kind of a controversial character going back, this past couple of years. I don't know that he's very well liked amongst players in the league. I don't know. I'm too far removed from anything close to the game, to make any kind of a judgment on that. But it's just a general consensus that I assume and kind of perceive from listening and everything like that. But at any rate, the guy slid. I forget the guy's. Who's the Guardians player?
Yeah, I forgot to.
It's a shame because he's an absolute legend at this point. But he hit a double. He slid into second.
Sorry, we may be the only sports podcast that forgot his name.
Yeah, well, that's what makes us unique. RPF.
That dude on the Guardians. The fact that I remembered the Guardians' name is shocking to us.
Well, if you notice, there was a slight hesitation. I was like, I had to go real deep to get the Guardians.
The Cleveland team, formerly known as.
Right. So anyway, he slid into second, and Tim Anderson put the tag on, and honestly, it didn't look all that malicious. He just kind of held the tag on him for a little while.
It didn't look that bad. Yeah.
Nothing was that bad, but obviously there's some bad blood like going back. So, so they freaked out, and the guy slid in the second, jumped up, and what I thought was pretty cool was I don't remember seeing anything like this recently, at least between two position players. When I've seen it when someone's charged a mound before, but Tim Anderson straight up threw his glove off like a hockey player. He was like, whoosh, and put his dukes up. I was like, oh, okay.
I said, you know what I called it? The Summer Hockey League.
I was like, oh, okay. And so they get into a scuffle, and within 2 seconds of the scuffle, just boom, connect with the right hook. Tim Anderson, sack of potatoes, down on the dirt. And then I loved
the bench is clear.
The bench is clear, and they're trying to walk. His teammates are trying to walk him off the field, and he's trying to say like, "I got this, bro," and he's like stumbling everywhere because he's like unconscious. Fantastic stuff, great stuff, great. It's good for the kids too.
As a hockey player, you enjoy that part of baseball. Thank you for bringing up the baseball aspect. Not talking about Ohtani's brilliance or anything, just a cold cock type of knockout. A TKO on the actual
this is
field,
what I saw it. This is why I'm being facetious when I say it's great. This is what I do like about it. I see it as basically old school. The players are policing themselves, and it's like, hey, like, so again, I don't know the full.
But let me ask you this: you coach more youth baseball than anyone I know. What happens when your kids are watching this and the glorification of this, including by us, by the way? What happens when that kid takes off his glove and puts his dukes up against a 9-year-old?
Well, I mean, if they're 9, it's a problem. But I don't.
What age do you coach?
I coach 16 and 17.
Oh, they're totally fighting. So they're totally. You're like, go at it.
and so here's what we don't know. Okay, we don't know the backstory.
The backstory.
And my point is the way that they kind of flew off the handle, and the way that Tim Anderson just like accepted the challenge.
It felt personal. Family. It felt something.
There's a backstory that we don't know about, and the thing that I like about it is this is old school baseball. This is, hey, you did something. Whatever 2 months ago that I'm not going to let slide. Like, you did something egregious that I'm not going to let slide.
You mentioned something about my mother, my sister, or
whatever it was. Like, we don't know. Okay. And it just, it's. I don't.
In this day and age, it could be like he slid into the DMs of his sister or something.
Like, so let me put it this way. This is like, sorry, that just hit my eardrums.
Thank you.
But. Let me put it this way. It's the same. It's similar. I shouldn't say it's the same. It's similar to me to where if, as a pitcher, you give up a home run and the guy pimps the absolute shit out of it, okay? And...
By the way, why is that all? I know traditionally you're a gentleman, you don't do that. But I don't... I mean...
No. Hang on. You didn't let me finish.
Oh,
you didn't let me finish. And the home run is nothing spectacular. It's a wall scraper. Okay? It's like... The wall. Let's say the wall is 373. It's 375. Okay, right. But you're out there and you're just watching the whole, and you're showboating the whole thing. Fine, That's fine. Okay. But if I come at you, you have to understand that that's okay too. Meaning when I
come at you, meaning like a high heater next to your
if I hit
drum
you.
or something, yeah.
No, if I hit, no, it's not next to him. I'm going to hit
but
him.
why? But why is that a given? I mean, I'm trying to figure out.
It's not a given.
I understand it's an old school thing.
It's not a given. And now listen, if you hit one 550 feet, by all means, you have earned every absolute right to do whatever you want. That's like, damn, like shit, brother. Tip the cap and you go, wow, that was impressive. Like Cliff Floyd putting in the river off me in Pittsburgh, right? And as soon as it leaves the bat, I go, holy shit.
Was that the one you think about the most that you gave up?
There's a lot of them.
What was the most crucial that was devastating?
The most crucial that was devastating.
The one that was like, that you're trying to save something that blew up in your face.
Well, I wasn't trying to save anything, but the most crucial one was Bernie Williams at Yankee Stadium.
Well, that was Bernie did that.
And I was pitching for the Royals at the time. It was my first year. I was pitching for the Royals, and it was, I think, the 6th or 7th inning, and the Yankees were winning, but it was only 3-1. And so like the general consensus was like, this game should be 400-1, and it's not. So all the Yankees fans were getting like really, really irate that it was so close. And I think there was a runner on second. It was a 2-run home run. I think there was a runner on second. It was a full count. And Bernie Williams, and it would have been ball 4. The pitch was like at his neck. I don't even know how he hit it. But he hit it, and he hit it well. And he smacked it into the upper deck. And this is, it was the loudest.
How many runners were on?
1. So it basically, it took a 3-1 game in the 7th inning and made it a 5-1 game, which is like essentially a dagger, right? Especially when you're, especially at that age, that era.
At Yankee Stadium. Yeah.
At Yankee Stadium, and you've got Mariano sitting in the wings, and I forget who else they had setting up for him, but their 7, 8, 9 guys were inning guys were lights out.
You want to hear a fun fact?
That was the loudest.
Go ahead.
That was the loudest I've ever experienced, like in my life. Like it was the only time on a mound that I just like wanted to like shrivel and just like suck my thumb and cry. Like it was just so loud, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're yelling at me!"
Do you know what I did in tennis? When I played tennis, when people would cheer against me, I would trick myself thinking they're cheering for me. So I would always like, they're trying to encourage me.
Sure.
I'd always like flip it around.
Sure.
You know, it's hard to do.
Sure, except for when you know for a fact you just gave up a home run to the upper deck. So it's like...
Yeah, and they're yelling at you and saying, "You suck, you rookie." Anyway,
or maybe RPF, maybe they were cheering for me. They were like, "Yay, Jonah, thank you."
That's encouraging. No, but fun fact for me, when I was 12, I spent the summer... We lived in Miami, and I spent the summer with my brother, with my family, my dad's family, up in New York City for the first time the whole summer, and my cousin Pepe Jose Feria was a very good baseball player. Ended up playing in AAA and got hurt, but he was a very, very good baseball player, and he loved the Yankees. So he took us from Washington Heights, where his family lived, to the Bronx, to Yankee Stadium, and we took like... It felt like 17 buses and trains. It was like we were like in Mars. I'm from in Miami. You get in the car, and 5 minutes later, you're wherever you have to go. You know, here we're like, why are these people next to us? You know. Anyway, so we get to the stadium. It was a 2 p.m. I'll never forget this 2:15 game on a Wednesday or something random, and we were in the first row of the upper deck. I'm wearing my Boston Red Sox cap, which learned quickly never again at Yankee Stadium, and they were playing the Kansas City Royals. The Yankees were playing the Royals, and it was like first time I saw George Brett in person, and I saw these like Chris Chambliss.
They used to have great rivalries back then,
right? And Craig Nettles, and it was like this game was like it was 2-2 in the 10th inning, and it was and the Yankees won at the end with the walk off, and it was just like. Again, this explosion of excitement. Thank God that the people were getting drunk around us. We're like, please win the game. At that point, I didn't care about the Yankees. Like, I was just like, fuck you, Red Sox. Meanwhile, we're like 12 years old. Okay, we're like, hola. We come in peace. It was very funny, but that was like the first experience I ever had at the old Yankee Stadium, and we were like in the front row. And apparently, like 2 years later, a fan fell over the same seats where we were. They fell trying to catch a foul ball. Anyway. So it was I remember distinctly that it was the Royals in the baby blue away uniforms, and it was just a very kind of like a searing memory for me. You weren't playing then, right? Because I was 12. You must have been.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
You weren't there.
But here, let me wrap up our baseball segment. I think ultimately what I'm trying to say is it seems like Tim Anderson is a person that needs to get checked, and he got checked. Meaning, like, check yourself.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all I'm saying. And that happens from time to time. There's people that become, for whatever reason, become bigger than the game. For bad, like, negative reasons, not heroic reasons, not Shohei Ohtani reasons. Like,
right.
They in a malicious way. Anyway, that's all.
And I think, to your point, also, we talked about in previous seasons our own experiences with Bryce Harper, which was when he was a kid. He was still in high school, but
he's still a shithead.
But he's pretty much a shithead
as a kid.
And he was pretty much.
And if you go back and listen to the episodes, I think we do say that, in fairness, if I was a 17-year-old on the cover of Sports Illustrated, I also would have been a shithead.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know if a shithead. I would have been obnoxious. Rude.
It's hard. It's hard not to be. Like, it's
right. In Vegas, in a town, a town that caters to this.
Exactly.
Yeah, so. But having said that, since our last podcast, when I mentioned something about Bryce being a dick or something, and you said, "Is he still?" Because I think he's been. Yeah. And sure enough, I looked up. I was checking him out, and this past week alone, he went to 2 children's hospitals, and he was like this kid with like this. It's just he seems softer. He seems human. He seems human, it's good. Anyway, so I think I stand. Hopefully, I stand corrected. Bryce Harper is back on the human train, and he's becoming a fully realized individual as a role model for his community.
Yeah,
so I think it's
definitely
good.
Yep. All right, moving on. What do we got?
Alcaraz. Well, first I'll start tennis. I'll start with the women, which I rarely do because it's always like Iga from Poland wins everything. But I will say my favorite player on the female side, of course, is Coco Gauff, the American phenom, who's been a phenom for 5 years. She's been playing for 5 years, and you know how old she is? 19.
That's nuts.
She's still. I mean, to me, she feels like she's 26. She's been playing for so long.
She really does. She really does.
Right?
Like, you keep bringing her up. You keep saying, like, she's about to emerge, and I'm like, she's about to emerge. I was like, a little late, huh?
She's 19. She's over the hill. He's like, but I will say this: she'd won a few tournaments in Europe and stuff. This past week, she played this really kind of like fully complete. She has a new coach, and she's being advised by Brad Gilbert. You know anything about him? That he wrote the book famously. Brad Gilbert's an American tennis player that rose to number 9 or something. But he has this technique of calling it winning ugly. Like, he, by all means necessary, he just wins.
Yep.
And he ended up being a longtime coach of Andre Agassi, and a longtime coach of Andy Roddick, and a longtime coach of all these players. And he's a commentator on ESPN tennis coverage, and he's always like, he comes up with like the fear hand is the forehand, and these nicknames for everything. And he's very mile-a-minute talker. He's a big Oakland Raiders fan, or now Las Vegas Raiders. Anyway, so he's always talking in a very, but he's always, his analysis is always very non-tennis. He's very kind of like like life analysis. Anyway, he's consulting now with Coco. Is it a coincidence then that she has a new coach and a new consultant? In the first tournament that she plays, it was the first in DC, which is a big loaded tournament of top players in Washington. She won the tournament. Not only did she win the tournament for the first time in the American soil for her at 19, she beat Maria Sakkari, which is number 4 in the world, and thrashed her 6-2, 6-3. Even Coco's thing has been that even when she's playing a player she should be beating the hell out of, there's always a lapse, and she loses the middle set, and she comes back and wins. So it's never as clean as you would think. 6-2, 6-3 is like, that's Martina and Chris Everett and Monica Seles, Steffi Graf efficiency. That's what we need to see from people. When Coco Gauff beats Sakkari 2-3, I'm excited that she's peaking with the right team at the right time as we head to the U.S. Open. I'm calling it now. I'm saying Coco Gauff in the U.S. Open final.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So anyway, on the men, as always, the past year or so, is the Spanish phenom, all of 20 years old, Carlos Alcaraz.
Yep.
He plays his first match tomorrow in Toronto, because it's Toronto, Cincinnati, and then the U.S. Open is the North American Hardcourt Tour, if you will, the season. August is and mid-September is the Hardcourt North American thing, and they're all, each tournament is like the almost three big tournaments back to back to back that you usually don't have all these 1,000 level tournaments before a Grand Slam. But anyway, so he plays tomorrow. He's been practicing with the top players, and just even the videos of him practicing. I mean, it's so crazy how good he is. Please, I implore people, if you even like tennis recreationally or in passing, do yourselves a favor. Do Google on YouTube or whatever it is, search on YouTube for the Alcaraz top 10 shots of all time or something, and you're going to be like, as we talked about, astounded by his ability.
Yeah,
and he's playing his favorite service, peaking at the right time. He's like has 0% body fat, which is like annoying. Slash, like you said, he's 19 or 20, so he's bendy also. Doing his full body splits. But anyway, he's a fun to watch. It's going to be a really fun tournament. It starts tomorrow for him in Toronto and on ESPN Tennis and Tennis Channel, and then you go from there to Cincinnati and then straight to the U.S. Open. So for the Labor Day weekend and beyond. So anyway,
awesome.
That's going to be fun.
Okay.
And that's my sports report.
And that's the sports report. That is the sports report for Sports of Course with Jonah and RPF. That's all the time
rolls off the tongue.
All the time we have for this show. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find us everywhere you listen to your podcast: Apple, Spotify, Podbean, all the great other platforms as well. You can also find us socially on Instagram and X, and as well as our dedicated YouTube channel. Just head to any of those platforms and in the search bar, type in Sports of Course with Jonah and RPF, and we'll pop right up.
I'll say one more thing.
Okay, go. Real quick.
I'll say, go to YouTube, subscribe, and hit like as always. But also, Leo Messi plays Friday.
Ooh.
Watch him on Apple Plus.
Yes, watch him on Apple Plus. All right, to Leo. We'll see you next time.